Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the new black god and got Harem? The movie. Huge shout out to 3-Headed Dragon for this story. If you want more awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Two blurs clashed against each other in a competition to dominate the other. With every clash there was a powerful shockwave that rattled everything in the area. Both blurs had an aura around them, with one having a black aura with a yellow outline and the other having a black aura with a red outline. The two blurs continued to clash for a few more minutes before they stopped and just hovered in the air. This allowed the figures inside the auras to come into focus. The one inside the black and yellow aura was a tall man with tan skin, spiky black hair, dark eyes, and a slim build. For clothes he wore a sleeveless gray tunic, a black long-sleeved undershirt with a turtleneck, a red sash, black pants, white boots, two dangling green spherical earrings, and a silver ring on his right index finger. This man is Goku Black, or rather just Black. The figure floating across from him in the black and red aura was a young man that looked similar to Black. His skin was lightly tanned, he had deep purple eyes, black hair that spiked out in every direction, 3 whisker marks on each of his cheeks, and a lean but muscular build. For clothes he wore the same outfit as Black, with the only differences being that his tunic had the Uzumaki swirl over his heart in red and an infinity symbol on the back in gold. Also his earrings are gold in color, and he doesn't have a ring. This young man is 16-year-old Naruto Uzumaki Black, the son of Goku Black. Black smirked in pride at the son he never thought he would have. If you had asked him 17 years ago if he would find a mortal woman to love and have a child with, he would have destroyed you on the spot for asking such a blasphemous question, but now he found that he really couldn't picture his life without his beloved wife and son. "Very good, my son, you've grown even stronger since our last spar," said Black. "Thank you, father, though I fear that even at this level of power I am still not strong enough to fulfill my ambition," said Naruto while looking at his hands. He could feeling his strength growing as he continued to train and grow, but even now he just knew that it wasn't enough for what he dreamed to accomplish. "I know how you feel, my son, but you must remember that you are still young and are not yet accustomed to the full might of your power. Though you have amazing control over it for someone your age, it is still far too vast for you to have complete control as of yet. Just continue to train as you do now, and you'll find that achieving your ambition is closer than you think," said Black. "I shall take your words to heart, father," said Naruto before he looked at the position of the sun and his eyes widened. "Father, I believe we should be getting home, or else we'll be late for dinner," said Naruto with worry in his voice. His mother was very scary when she was upset. Looking to the sun himself, Black winced when he saw what time it was. A god he may be, but even he was scared when his wife got angry, cursed this scion body for giving him a love for strong women. "I believe you are right, son. Let us hurry back," said Black before he and Naruto took off at high speed. It only took them a minute to make it back to their house, where outside stood a woman. The woman in question was of average height with fair skin, deep purple eyes, long crimson hair that went down to her ankles, an athletic but feminine build, long legs, thick thighs, wide hips, a narrow waist, a large juicy ass, and large deity cup breasts. For clothes she wore black shinobi sandals, a cream-colored short-sleeved blouse, a green apron, a black hair clip, a black wristband on her left wrist, and a diamond ring on her left ring finger. This woman is Kushina Uzumaki Black, wife of Goku Black and mother of Naruto Uzumaki Black. "Well, aren't you too lucky? You made it just in time for dinner," said Kushina with a smirk when she noticed both her son and husband sigh in relief. She loved how well trained both of them were. Black smiled at Kushina as he thought about how they met. He had been in an intense fight with Son Goku, Vegeta and Trunks when all 4 of them launched an attack at once. This had caused 2 things to happen. First, he was gravely injured, and second, a rift in space and time had opened and sucked him in. But traveling through the rift with his injuries caused him so much pain that he actually blacked out. When he woke up, he found himself lying in a bed with bandages wrapped around his body. He could barely move without feeling incredible pain. Moments later, Kushina walked in and started tending to him. At first he was angry that a mere mortal like her would dare to touch a god, and he told her as such, but she just told him to shut up and focus on getting better. This only angered him more, so he told her that she would be the first one he would destroy. Kushina simply told him that he could do whatever he wanted after he was fully healed. After that first meeting, they kind of got set into a routine. She would come in to tend to him by changing his bandages or giving him food and drink, and he would glare at her and insult her. But no matter what he said, she seemed to ignore his words and continued to help him heal, as it seemed going through the rift had delayed his own healing abilities. It didn't take Black long to realize that he was in a whole other dimension from his own simply because he couldn't sense any other gods, and he could sense that the energy inside of Kushina was similar to Ki but was mixed with something else. One day, after having his words ignored by Kushina once again, he snapped and told of his goal to wipe out all mortals in the universe and have a beautiful everlasting peace. He had expected her to finally lash out at him in anger, but instead she surprised him by saying that his plan might actually work. This surprised him because no mortal that ever heard of his plan thought it was a good idea. They simply thought of him as a monster, not that he cared what a lowly mortal thought of him. Kushina told him that she thought that he was delivering mercy to mortals because the gods had already cursed them with war. That had confused him a bit, so he asked her to explain. She told him that the elemental nations have seen nothing but war since the start of the recorded past, that the very ground of the elemental nations was practically soaked to the very core in blood because the people that walked the earth could never stop killing. Sure, there were times when wars and battles would stop, but those weren't really peaceful times. It was just that all the countries had finally noticed that the number of people they had to fight their wars was dropping, so they stopped fighting for a time just so they could rebuild their numbers and then fight some more. Everything Black was learning was only fueling his will to complete his Zero Mortals plan, but something did catch his attention, as apparently Kushina's clan, the Uzumaki, from the very beginning never participated in any of the wars. Sure, they practiced self-defense in case a time ever came when they were attacked, but they never outright sought out conflict. They were content to live peacefully on their island. The other countries were cautious of the Uzumaki clan because it was well known they were powerful, but they continued to leave the Uzumaki alone simply because they never caused or got involved in conflict. It wasn't until Mito Uzumaki married a man named Hashirama Senju and started the village of Konoha while declaring Yuzu and Konoha allies. This in turn caused the other countries to believe that Yuzu really was a threat, so 3 of the 5 great villages formed an alliance, and together destroyed Yuzu while the few survivors scattered to the winds. Black stayed silent for a week after what he had learned about this world, and once he was well enough, he used the time ring to travel back in time and see if Kushina's story checked out. He was shocked to find that her words were true, and for the first time in his life he felt sympathy for mortals. The Uzumaki were a people that were something that he didn't usually see in mortals. They were content. They were happy on their island and didn't care about expanding their territory or anything like that. To Black, this was how all mortals should be instead of the greedy and arrogant pieces of filth he had come to know. He then remembered that Kushina said that the Uzumaki had a strong life force that allowed them to live much longer than other mortals. To Black, this proved that the Uzumaki were blessed by this world's gods, as they clearly wanted the Uzumaki around more than the other mortals. Black then looked further into the past and at the actions of mortals, and he found that there were indeed others besides the Uzumaki that were actually worthy of praise. Seeing this, he decided to change his plan and simply get rid of the mortals that weren't worthy of existing. Later, he apologized to Kushina for his words. It took a while for Kushina to forgive him because while she may have ignored him, she still didn't appreciate his words. He told Kushina of his latest plan, and once again she agreed with him, saying that now that his eyes could see the truly innocent, he could bring true peace to this world. Black planned to do just that, but once he fully recovered, he found that he didn't want to leave Kushina. Later down the line, he and Kushina were married and had their son Naruto. Black was brought out of his thoughts when he felt a hand on his shoulder. "Honey, are you okay?" asked Kushina. "Yes, I'm fine, darling, just a little lost in my thoughts," said Black with a small smile. While he still hated most mortals, he now understood that not all of them were evil. "Well then, come inside. The others and I have gone through a lot to make sure you and Naruto-chan have a lot of yummy food to eat, and I don't want it to get cold," said Kushina as started walking towards the little house, followed by Naruto with Black quickly following them. Inside the little house, Naruto and Black were met by 2 other women. The first was a beautiful woman with light blue skin, long white hair with the left side being longer than the other and hanging in front of her chest, pointed ears, purple eyes, a curvaceous and slender build, a thick ass, and DD cup breasts. For clothes she wore a red and black skin-tight bodysuit that has a V-shaped hole around her stomach with slits at the bottom that exposed the bottom of her breasts, a white open-leg cape, black and red high heels, the same earrings as Naruto, and a gold-colored infinity symbol headpiece that covered the back and both sides of her head. This woman is Tawa Uzumaki Black, wife of Naruto Black. In Tawa's arms is a 1-year-old baby wrapped in a blue blanket. The baby had light blue skin, pointed ears, deep purple eyes, 2 whisker marks on each cheek, and a full head of spiky white hair. The baby is Mira Uzumaki Black, 1-year-old son of Naruto and Tawa. The second woman in the room was a rather adorable girl that was about the height of a child with pinkish purple skin, pointed ears, short pinkish red hair, large black eyes, a rather plump and perky ass, and beak-up breasts. For clothes she wore robes similar to what Kai on the sacred world of the Kai wear but of a more casual design, the same earrings as Naruto, Black, and Tawa, and a pair of white high-heel boots. This woman is Konoha Uzumaki Black, the supreme Kai of time and Naruto's second wife. How Konoha and Tawa came to Naruto's world will be explained later. "Welcome home, how was training?" asked Konoha in her ever-cheerful voice. "Training was fruitful, as father says I have grown stronger, and I'm glad to be home, dear," said Naruto as he gave his child-sized wife a hug and then kissed her deeply on the lips. Konoha didn't hesitate to return the kiss and moaned as their tongues battled each other. Once they broke apart, Naruto went over to Tawa and kissed her the same way. When they broke apart, he kissed his son's forehead, causing him to giggle a bit. "So my lovely wives, how was your day while I was out training?" asked Naruto. "It was great, Kushina, Tawa, and I made lots of yummy food," cheered Konoha. "The day was fine. I managed to come up with a few new experiments I've been meaning to try out, but Mirakun did miss his daddy while you were away," said Tawa in her natural silky and seductive voice. "I see. Well, I'm glad you all had a pleasant day. Just allow me to wash up and I'll take Mirakun for the rest of the day, and we can have dinner," said Naruto with a strained smile on his face. He loved Konoha dearly, but her cooking was like a form of torture, though it did also make for good training, because if his wife's cooking didn't kill you, then nothing can. "Don't worry, honey. I'll point out what Tawa and I made and what Konoha made," whispered Kushina. "Thank you, darling," Black whispered back. Black wasn't like his son, and after he tried Konoha's food the first time, he avoided it ever since. Later, everyone was sitting at the dinner table having dinner. Naruto was holding his son in one arm while using his free hand to eat. Pretty much everyone but Konoha could see that Naruto was trying really hard not to break down and cry from eating Konoha's food. Even Mira could see that his father was in great pain. "It tastes better than it normally does, so she's learning, but it still tastes like she's trying to kill whoever eats her cooking," Naruto thought to himself. "So what do you think, sweetie? Pretty good, huh?" asked Konoha, excited to hear her husband's thoughts. "It's delicious as always, Konoha-chan. In fact, it's better than last time," said Naruto with a strained smile. "Son, this is the one area where you are stronger than I," Black thought to himself. "Per Sochi," Kushina thought to herself. "I'll have to examine Naruto's body in order to make sure Konoha hasn't severely poisoned our husband," Tawa thought to herself. "I knew you would love it. You should count yourself lucky that you married me, because now you can have my fantastic cooking all the time," Konoha cheered with a large smile. "Yes, I am incredibly lucky," said Naruto. Dinner for the family continued in a comfortable silence, as they simply enjoyed being in each other's presence. Though when all of the food was gone, Naruto having choked down all of Konoha's cooking, Kushina finally decided to bring something up. "I got a letter from Konoha today. It's the 2-week notice," said Kushina. Everyone became serious when they heard her say this, and Black clenched his fist in anger. "I know none of us wish to go to that village, but it is necessary for the plan," said Kushina. Naruto placed a hand on his stomach as he thought about his mother's plan. Black looked over at his son and frowned as he remembered the events that lead to this plan. When Naruto was about to be born, the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze took Kushina to a secret location to have the baby. This was done because Kushina was the Jinchuriki, a person with a bija sealed in them, for the QB and the seal of a female Jinchuriki weakened during birth. Black wished to be the only other person there besides the doctor and nurse, but Minato insisted that he needed to be there in order to make sure Kushina's seal stayed stable. Moments after Naruto's birth, a man in a mask appeared out of nowhere and held Naruto hostage. This pissed Black off, as some filthy mortal had dared to touch his son. Black became even more pissed off when the man had the nerve to throw his son into the air with paper bombs wrapped around him. Black quickly moved to get Naruto, while Minato quickly moved to get everyone else out of the blast range. When the smoke cleared, the man had taken Kushina. Black quickly found her energy signature and used instant transmission to teleport to her, while Minato locked onto her chakra signature and used his Haracian to teleport to her. It was too late though, as the man had ripped the QB out of Kushina and sent it to attack the village. The man taunted them that they didn't have time to save the village and go after him before he ran off. Black felt more rage than he's ever felt before. This mortal not only had the audacity to taunt a god, but to touch and try to bring harm to the wife and child of a god as well. Black quickly got Kushina and Naruto somewhere safe before going after the foolish man that angered him so much, while Minato went to stop the QB. It didn't take Black long to find the man, as he had chosen to stay and watch the destruction he had caused, and when Black found him, he kicked that man's ass. It was a bit difficult at first, as the man had the ability to make himself intangible, and this ability also messed with Black's ability to sense him. Black soon figured out that while he couldn't harm the man when he was like that, the man couldn't attack when he was intangible, so Black simply waited for the man to attack and then quickly moved to attack the man himself. When Black was about to deliver the killing blow to the man, he stopped when he sensed Kushina's and Naruto's energy suddenly appear next to the QB. Leaving the broken man, Black teleported to Kushina just in time to stop the QB from impaling her with its claw. After that, Black was shocked to see Minato use the Reaper Death Seal in order to seal half of the QB into himself and the other half into Naruto. Once again, Black became disgusted with mortals, as these mortals had the ability to summon their gods to do their dirty work. After the sealing, there was a council meeting with the clan heads and elders to discuss Naruto's situation. One of the elders, named Danzo, suggested that Naruto be trained right away in order to become the perfect weapon. Black would have killed him for his words if Kushina hadn't mentioned that the noise from his death would wake up Naruto. Kushina threw her weight around as Naruto's mother, the Uzumaki clan head, and the former Jinchuriki of the QB in order to get Minato to agree to let them leave the village in order to train Naruto. Minato agreed, but the family would have to bring Naruto back in order to become a ninja of the village with the rest of the clan heirs, which Kushina agreed to. Black wasn't happy about this, but then Kushina explained that this was so Naruto could grow up and destroy all the corruption in Konoha from the inside. He liked Kushina's idea, as from the inside Naruto could judge whether a mortal was worthy of living or not before killing them. Black was brought out of his memories by his son's voice. So in 2 weeks I take my first steps in purging this world of its corruption. Very well then, I shall train even harder to reach my goal of saving this world from itself and giving this world a true active god that shall keep the peace," said Naruto with nothing but determination in his eyes. Konoha smiled at her husband. As the supreme Kai of time, she could easily look into this world's future, and while there were many different futures, almost 80% of them ended with Naruto creating peace and watching over everyone as an all-powerful god. "I'm fine with you training to reach your goal, Naruto-chan, just remember not to train too hard. You still need to make time for your wives and little Mirakun," said Kushina. While at first she wasn't happy her son got married twice while still so young and gave her a grandchild so early, she quickly grew used to it and enjoyed spending time with her new daughters, and she often spoke of spoiling Mira as he got older. "I shall remember, mother, as an Uzumaki family always comes first," said Naruto before he was kissed on both of his cheeks by Tawa and Konoha. Later that night with Black and Kushina, Kushina was brushing her hair while wearing a dark red nightgown, and Black was sitting on their bed in a pair of black shorts and a dark gray wife beater. "You know, honey, I sense Naruto-chan less and less every day. How much longer until he fully changes?" asked Kushina. He was only half god when he was born, but that started to change when we started training him, and he used more and more of his godly power. Now he's at least 92% god, so I'd say at the end of the 2 weeks he'll reach full god," said Black with a smirk. "His son will finally be the god he was always meant to be. And once he is a full god, he, Konoha, and myself will share our power with you and turn you into a goddess. Not that you aren't a goddess now, but soon you'll have the power to match your beauty," said Black. "Well, aren't you sweet?" said Kushina with a smirk before she got up and went into her walk-in closet. A minute later she came out wearing a revealing and sexy priestess outfit with her hair done in a high ponytail. "Hello, my lord, I've already activated the silencing seals in the room, so how may this humble priestess serve you?" said Kushina in a seductive voice while pushing out her breasts. Black had a large perverted smile on his face before he quickly threw Kushina onto the bed and they got to work on trying to give Naruto a sibling. Black would be forever grateful to Kushina for introducing him to sex. With Naruto, currently only wearing a pair of black boxers and a red wife beater, laid a sleeping mirror into his crib which was right next to the bed. Currently sitting on the bed was Tawa, who was only wearing a pair of red lace panties and no bra, exposing her perky breasts and dark blue nipples. She didn't like wearing bras. "Are you sure you don't want me to examine you, dear?" asked Tawa. "I'm sure, I can already feel myself getting stronger just from recovering from eating her cooking," said Naruto. "If you say so, dear," said Tawa. Naruto got into the bed and Tawa snuggled up to his left side. It was then that Konoha walked into the room wearing a dark purple and hot pink nightgown that really showed off her curves and ass. Konoha crawled into bed with Naruto and Tawa's and cuddled up to Naruto's right side, and Naruto put his arm around her. "So hubby, how do you feel about having to go to Konoha for the first time?" asked Krona. "I feel happy that I can finally start the first steps of reaching my goal, and I'm excited because Mother said Konoha had some strong fighters," said Naruto. "Dear, you do know that you're most likely stronger than any fighter Konoha could have, right?" asked Tawa. "I know, dear. But that doesn't mean I can't learn a thing or two from them. I mean, Father learned how to achieve an even higher form of power after only one fight with Goku," said Naruto. He knew all about his father's past, and while he thought his father was an ass at first, he was glad his mother was able to change him. "True enough, not to mention you've learned moves from Kushina, Tawa, and myself from one simple spar with us. But enough of that, it's time for bed," said Konoha as she turned off the light. 13 days later, Naruto and his family were now outside the main gate of Konoha. None of them seemed too happy to be there. "Halt, state your business for being here," said one of the gate guards. "Kushina Uzumaki Black, returning with my family from a 16-year-long training trip, as was the deal between myself and Hokage-sama," said Kushina. The paperwork checks out, but it was only for your husband, your son, and yourself, so who are the woman and the 2 children?" asked the other gate guard. Both gate guards wondered about Tawa's and Konoha's strange appearance, but they've seen stranger, and they both had to admit that Tawa was a hot piece of ass. "She is not a child," yelled Kushina and Konoha at the same time. Naruto sighed as he knew his wife hated being mistaken for a child. Hell, he also thought she was a child when he first met her. "If you must know, the 2 women with us are my son's wives and the baby is my grandson," said Kushina. "Oh. Well then, please go on ahead, Kushina-sama. Hokage-sama will be glad you have finally returned to the village," said the first gate guard. "I'm sure he will," said Black. He really didn't like Minato. The man had an unhealthy obsession with Kushina. As they walked through the village toward the Hokage Tower, the family noticed a lot of people glaring at Naruto for some reason. Not that Naruto cared, as they were too weak to pose a challenge to him. They also heard a lot of people whispering about how adorable Konoha was. Konoha smiled at this, as she loved being called adorable, but she hated being called a child. Tawa, on the other hand, felt a lot of lustful stares on her body, and this angered her, as only Naruto was allowed to look at her in such a way. Halfway to the tower they stopped as they ran into a young man. This young man was as tall as Naruto, with lightly tanned skin, bright blue eyes, spiky blonde hair with 2 spiky bangs that framed his face, and a lean but muscular build. For clothes he wore black shinobi sandals, orange pants, an orange jumpsuit jacket with black sleeves and shoulders, and a Konoha headband on his forehead. "So you've really come back. I'm happy that I finally get to meet you," said the young man. "I'm sorry, but who are you?" asked Kushina. "Oh, sorry, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Menma Uzumaki Namikaze, I'm your son," said the now named Menma. Everything went quiet as those words sank in, though Naruto and Black narrowed their eyes at Menma, both knowing that Kushina never gave birth to another child after Naruto himself, plus the fact that Menma had the Hokage's last name. "What at it?" screamed Kushina, finally coming out of her shock. "Hokage office minutes earlier," Minato Namikaze was currently doing paperwork in his office while thinking about the last 16 years. They had been hard on him since Kushina left the village. He still couldn't believe she turned him down when he asked her out, but that just made her all the more attractive to him. Then that guy Black showed up out of nowhere, and she chose to marry him. He really didn't understand that since he couldn't sense anything powerful about Black. He hated the fact that he had to perform the ceremony at their wedding. Things became worse when she had a son with Black and named him Naruto. Minato didn't trust Naruto at all, which is why he only sealed half of the QB into him, and the other half into himself. Minato smirked though when he thought about his son Menma. Menma was a strong ninja and very loyal to the village. He took to the training he got from Minato and his sensei Jiraiya. Minato was sure Menma would make an excellent Hokage someday. He was also sure that once Kushina met Menma, she would see that Black could never give her strong children, as there was no way Naruto would be as strong as Menma. Kushina was sure to leave Black and be with him, the one man she was truly meant to be with. Minato was taken from his thoughts when his sensei entered the room. "Look alive, brat. I just felt Kushina's chakra signature come into the village, and she's on her way to the tower," said Jiraiya. "That's great. It'll be great to see her after so long," said Minato with a smile. "I've also sensed Menma in the area, so there is a good chance they'll run into each other," said Jiraiya. "Really, I wanted to be the one to introduce them, but I guess this is fine too. Do you think Kushina-chan will be mad when she finds out I used her eggs that she had frozen when we were younger in order to give birth to Menma?" asked Minato. "While at it," came Kushina's cry before Jiraiya could answer Minato's question. "Well, you'll find out soon, brat," said Jiraiya. Jiraiya knew all about Minato's refusal to give up on Kushina. In fact, Jiraiya encouraged Minato not to give up. He never gave up on Tsunade, so why should Minato give up on Kushina? Minato was sweating nervously as he looked at an angry Kushina standing in front of him with her hair floating up in 9 tails. Standing behind Kushina were Black, Naruto, Tawa holding Mira, and Konoha, while off to the side were Jiraiya and Menma. "Kushina-chan, I'm glad to see you have returned," said Minato. "Cut the crap, Minato, and tell me why this young man said he was my son," said Kushina. "Well, Kushina, it's like this. I wanted a family of my own after seeing you and Black so happy together, but I could never find the right woman, so instead I had the hospital fertilize some eggs with my sperm and boom, Menma was born," said Minato. This was of course a lie, as he never even looked for another woman outside of Kushina. "And you had them use the eggs I froze when I was younger?" "Minato, I froze those eggs in case something ever happened to me that would cause me to be unable to have children," said Kushina. "I know, but I didn't know they were using your eggs until after they were fertilized," said Minato. This too was a lie, as he had specifically told the doctor to only use Kushina's eggs. "How many of my eggs are left?" asked Kushina. "None, I'm sorry, Kushina, but there was an accident in the cold storage area and the eggs and even sperm donations were lost," said Minato. Once again it was another lie. Kushina had frozen enough eggs for 3 chances at making a baby, and Minato had used all of them in order to make Menma. "Moving away from all of that, who are these others you brought with you? The skin color and ears make them quite exotic, but the pink one is way too young and underdeveloped for my tastes, while the blue one has that MILF body working for her," said Jiraiya. "I'll thank you not to talk about my wives in such a way, pervert," said Naruto with his fists tightly clenched. "I'm not a pervert, I'm a super pervert, and what do you mean, wives?" asked Jiraiya. "I don't see how my darling could have been any clearer. We are his wives, it's as simple as that, and this little bundle in my arms is our son," said Tawa. "Just who exactly are you?" asked Jiraiya. "I'm Tawa Black, Naruto's first wife and mother of his firstborn son Mira Black. She's Konoha Black, Naruto's second wife," said Tawa, introducing both of them. "You let Naruto get married this early, Kushina-chan?" asked Minato. "Yeah, I didn't like it at first, but the girls are good for him. He does need to rebuild the Uzumaki clan since he is the heir after all," said Kushina. "Heir? Kushina-chan, don't you think it would be better for Menma to be the heir?" asked Minato. Kushina narrowed her eyes at this along with the rest of her family. "And why would Menma be the Uzumaki clan heir?" asked Kushina. "Well, not only was he personally trained by myself and Jiraiya sensei, but it will also be easier for the villagers to accept Menma as the next clan head," said Minato. If you're worried about strength, then you have no need to worry, as Black-kun and myself trained Naruto. His training was then further increased when Tawa-chan and Konoha-chan showed up. Furthermore, Menma is a stranger to me. He may technically be my son, but I did not raise him. I have no desire to allow someone who knows nothing of true Uzumaki values to run my clan. Besides, Naruto was born first, so it's his right to be clan heir," said Kushina. "And why is it that Menma would be accepted easier than Naruto as clan head?" asked Black with narrow eyes. "Somehow word got out that Naruto was a Jinchuriki, but the word got twisted and the village believes that Naruto contains the soul while Menma contains the power," said Minato. "Now that you mention it, I can sense the QB's chakra inside of Menma instead of you, Minato. Why is that?" asked Kushina. "Well, Kushina, as you know, only an Uzumaki can properly contain the QB. Since I wasn't an Uzumaki, it wouldn't be long before the QB's power broke down my body and escaped, so I went through the forbidden scroll of seals and found the same seal Mito used to transfer the QB into you and used it to transfer the QB into Menma," said Minato. This was actually true, as Minato had once been pulled into the seal where QB gloated about how it would soon be free as Minato's body was not capable of containing it. "I see. Regardless of this information, Naruto shall remain as Uzumaki clan heir, as I know for a fact that he carries the Uzumaki values and is more than strong enough to represent my clan. Now, if you will excuse me, I'll be taking my family to the Uzumaki compound to settle down. Naruto-kun has a graduation exam tomorrow and needs his rest," said Kushina as she and her family turned to leave. "Wait, what about me?" asked Menma, finally speaking up. "I honestly don't know. You are technically my son since my blood runs through your veins, and family is very important to an Uzumaki. But it takes more than just blood to be family. I don't know you at all, so I would like to get to know you, Menma, to see if I can truly call you my son," said Kushina before she and her family left. Menma was not happy about the way things had gone. His father promised him that when his mother came back that she would accept him with open arms, shower him with love, and make him the Uzumaki clan heir. Sure, he was the Namikaze clan heir, but other than his father, the Namikaze was an unknown clan. The Uzumaki clan, on the other hand, was well known, and its name carried much more weight behind it, which is why he wanted to be its heir, but since his mother was the current clan head, only she could make him heir. Menma didn't like that what should have been his was given to his weakling of a half-brother. He could barely sense anything from Naruto at all, and yet his mother seemed so sure that he was strong enough to be the heir. Menma was about to voice his complaints, but Minato beat him to it. "I know you're upset about this turn of events, Menma, but your mother is actually right. Despite being her son, you are basically a stranger to her, and it would be irresponsible for Kushina-chan to leave her clan in the hands of someone she doesn't know. This is my fault, as I should have told Kushina-chan about you the moment you were born. That way she would have come home and raised you like proper mother instead of wasting her time with Black and Naruto," said Minato. "Look on the bright side, kid. She's not rejecting you, as she said that she just needs to get to know you. Just be yourself and let her do just that, while you also show her just how strong you are, and she'll make you heir in no time. Once she does that, she'll have to kick Naruto out of her family and clan along with Black and those women and child. This means she'll free to move in with you and your dad, and the three of you can be a proper family," said Jiraiya. Menma nodded at this with a smirk. With how weak his half-brother was, it would be easy for him to prove himself stronger. With Kushina and her family, "How stupid does that man think I am? Anytime someone wants to have a baby artificially, the hospital always gives you several profiles to choose from. Only extremely shady underground doctors would just randomly choose a sample to use. That means that bastard purposely used all of my frozen eggs just to make himself a son," raged Kushina. "What do you want to do about Menma, my love?" asked Black. If she gave the word, he would gladly destroy Menma. He was sure Naruto would too. "Nothing for now. Despite how he was born and the reason behind it, he's still technically my son. While I haven't acknowledged him as such, as an Uzumaki, I have to at least give him a chance to prove himself worthy of calling himself my son and an Uzumaki," said Kushina. "And if he should prove himself unworthy?" asked Naruto while now holding Mira. "If that becomes the case, then as clan head I'll strip him of any and all rights or ties he may have to our clan, and he will be unable to even call himself an Uzumaki, let alone my son. If he causes us trouble after that, then you and Black-kun can deal with him as you please," said Kushina with Naruto and Black nodding. What about Minato? Asked Black. Oh, you leave him to me. Him and his stupid obsession with me has been a thorn in my side for far too long, said Kushina. The next day, Naruto is currently standing outside of his assigned classroom as he waited for the sensei, Irika, to introduce him. Alright class, settle down as I have an announcement. We have a new student joining us for graduation, said Irika. What? How is that fair that this nobody gets to come on the last day and graduate, while the rest of us had to sit through years of lessons? Complained one student. From what I've come to understand, this student has been training to become a ninja outside of the village. Plus, this was approved by the Hokage, so if you have a problem, take it up with him. You can come in now, said Irika. Naruto opened the door and walked in and stood next to Irika. Looking over the classroom, Naruto wasn't shocked at all to find that he could take out most of the class with a simple ki blast. There were a few that at least had the potential to be at least noteworthy in the future. And finally there was a handful that would actually be a challenge for him in the future if they were properly trained. Something else Naruto noticed was that a lot of girls were blushing at him. Not that he cared, since he was already married and most of these weaklings didn't appeal to him. Would you mind introducing yourself to the class? Asked Irika. Very well. My name is Naruto Black. I'm the son of Goku Black and Kushina Uzumaki Black, said Naruto. This caught a lot of people's attention as Menma constantly talked about who his mom was. Does that mean you're Menma-kun's brother somehow? Asked a pink-haired girl. That remains to be seen, said Naruto. Well, Naruto, why don't you take a seat next to Hinata so we can begin the tests? Hinata, please raise your hand so Naruto knows who you are, said Irika as a girl shyly raised her hand. Naruto nodded to this and moved to the open seat next to Hinata. To Naruto, Hinata was a rather beautiful girl with healthy pale skin, pale pupilless eyes with a hint of lavender, waist-length straight dark blue hair, a voluptuous body, long legs, wide hips, a narrow waist, a plump and toned ass, and easily E-cup breasts. For clothes she wore dark blue sandals, blue pants, a light blue short-sleeved shirt, and over that is a heavy lavender-colored coat with white fur cuffs. Naruto noticed that Hinata was one of the handful of people that could challenge him one day, but he also noticed that she seemed really shy and insecure with herself. After taking his seat, Naruto looked to her and noticed that she seemed to sink into herself under his gaze. Hello, I'm Naruto Black, said Naruto. I am Hinata Hyuga, stuttered Hinata with a bright blush on her face. She was so ashamed of herself for stuttering like that. It's nice to meet you, Hinata. Why do you seem so nervous? Asked Naruto. Said Hinata before someone came to her rescue. You'll have to excuse Hinata as she's really shy, even around people that she knows, so being around someone new makes her really nervous. I'm her younger twin sister Hanabi, by the way, said Hanabi from the other side of Hinata. Hanabi looked much like her sister with healthy pale skin, pale pupilless eyes, long brown hair done in a low ponytail with a white ribbon along with two short strands of hair on either side of her face with pink ribbons, a rather petite build when compared to her sister, long legs, wide hips, a plump ass, a narrow waist, and cup breasts. For clothes she wore a tan-colored long-sleeved kimono with red-orange flames on it, a matching knee-length skirt, and low-heeled sandals. Hanabi was another person that could challenge Naruto if trained correctly. It's fine, but why is she so shy? Asked Naruto. You can blame our clan for that. They always berate her and call her weak simply because she doesn't like to hurt people, said Hanabi with irritation in her voice. I see. If it means anything, I can tell that Hinata isn't weak. In fact, she has a lot of potential to be very powerful, said Naruto. You really think so? Asked Hinata. I know so. While I was training with my parents, I learned to be able to sense just how strong my opponents are or can be, and I sense that there is a great deal of power locked away inside of you, said Naruto. See sis, I told you we're strong, said Hanabi before she turned to Naruto. How do we get this power out of her? Asked Hanabi. Well, from what you've told me, I can guess that this power is only locked away because of the years of emotional abuse she has suffered, causing her to unconsciously lock her own power away. It will take time and training, but it can be unlocked, said Naruto. Can you help her unlock this power? Asked Hanabi. Yes, I can, but I can also help you to unlock it as well, said Naruto. Me? Asked Hanabi. Yes, you also have a great deal of power locked away inside you, and I wish to bring it out, said Naruto. And what do you want in return for this? Asked Hanabi with narrowed eyes. Simple, I want to fight with the both of you when you're strong enough, said Naruto with a smirk. A fight? Asked Hanabi. Yes, much like my father, I enjoy fighting strong opponents. Once you and Hinata have mastered this power within you, I want you to use it in an all-out spar against me, said Naruto. Hanabi thought about this for a few moments before nodded her head. All right, Naruto-san, it's a deal, said Hanabi. Wait, Hanabi, I am not sure about this, said Hinata. Don't worry, sis, I promise that everything will be fine, said Hanabi. Oh, okay, said Hinata. Great, I'll let you know when to meet me for training, said Naruto. With that out of the way, Iruka's white-haired assistant Mizuki started passing out the written test of the graduation exam. Naruto immediately noticed that his test had a genin jutsu on it, and with a small flare of his power he broke it. Sensing that it was Mizuki's chakra that made the genin jutsu and not Iruka's, Naruto made sure to stare directly into Mizuki's eyes as he took the test. Naruto also made a mental note to destroy Mizuki later, as he could sense the darkness and evil intent within the man. There was no light at all within him, so he was unworthy of living. Once the written test was over, Iruka had Mizuki take everyone outside for the kunai and shuriken throwing test while he graded the tests. During the kunai and shuriken test, the civilians did below average, and the clan children did above average, with a boy named Sasuke, Uchiha, and Menma having nearly perfect scores. When it was Naruto's turn, he noticed that his kunai and shuriken were blunt and heavy. He also noticed Mizuki smirking at him out of the corner of his eye. Naruto rolled his eyes at this, as the man was basically digging his own grave. But that continuing with the test, Naruto threw his 10 kunai and 10 shuriken with so much force behind them that their weight and bluntness didn't matter, as they all hit their targets dead center. Next up was the Taijutsu portion of the graduation exam. Iruka finally joined them for this part of the test. It was explained that each student would fight either Iruka or Mizuki in a Taijutsu-only match, and in order to pass you would either need to last 5 minutes, or knock your opponent outside of the ring. Naruto watched everyone closely and was less than impressed by most of the group. Sure, once again Sasuke and Menma did well, but this was against people that weren't really trying to hurt them, which Naruto didn't understand. Hell, his own father had broken his arm once during a training session with the excuse that his enemies wouldn't be fighting with kid gloves on, and Naruto completely understood that. You can't teach people to be ninja and yet hold on them just because they're young, because most likely the enemy won't care. Black still got chewed out for hurting him that badly though. Hanabi did well also, and he noticed that her style seemed to be more for causing internal damage than external damage, and Hinata did well also, but he noticed she focused more on defending and dodged the attacks thrown at her rather than attacking herself. This showed Naruto that while skilled, she didn't want to hurt people. That was going to be a problem he was going to have to fix. Now it was Naruto's turn, and he was standing in the ring with his arms crossed over his chest and Mizuki standing in front of him. He could tell just from how tense Mizuki's muscles were that he wasn't going to hold back like he did for everyone else, and that was fine with Naruto, as the man was too slow and too weak to actually hurt him. Iruka started the spar and Mizuki rushed in at full speed and threw a barrage of punches and kicks. Naruto dodged all of them with a bored look on his face and without moving from his spot. This lasted for a full minute before Naruto grew sick of Mizuki trying and failing to hit him, and with a simple backhand to the face he knocked Mizuki out of the ring and into the side of the building, with the upper half of his body going through the wall and the lower half sticking out of the wall and twitching for all to see. Holy shit, he just gave Mizuki-sensei the godly pimp hand, yelled a random student. Everyone was shocked by Naruto's show of strength. Hinata and Hanabi were amazed, and Sasuke and Menma were pissed. Sasuke was mad because some clanless nobody had so much power when only he deserved to have that kind of power. Menma was mad because he was supposed to be proving himself stronger than Naruto, and yet Naruto was proving to be stronger than him. After getting out of his shock, Iruka told everyone to take a break while he took Mizuki to the hospital. During the break, Naruto sat with Hinata and Hanabi and talked with them in order to learn more about them. He found it great that the Uchiha clan focused on Taijutsu, as that would make it much easier to teach them to use ki. When Irika came back, he brought them all back inside so that they could do the final ninjutsu test. Naruto found this test to be a joke, as all they had to do was the substitution jutsu, the transformation jutsu, and the basic clone jutsu. In Naruto's opinion, anyone that graduated would be lucky to survive their first mission outside of the village. Naruto passed all of the tests with flying colors and wrapped his Konoha headband around his waist like a belt. Alright, congratulations to those of you who passed, and those who didn't, maybe next time. You have a 2-hour break before I come back to tell you your team placements, said Irika. With that, most of the students went about talking with their friends while Naruto took Hinata and Hanabi to the roof of the school. Okay, before we start, there is something I need to address. Hinata, it's clear from what I saw during the tests that you have skill, but you don't want to hurt people. This is something that you'll have to overcome, as your refusal to hurt others could lead to serious consequences in the future, said Naruto. I understand, said Hinata. Good, then to start off I want you to attack me, said Naruto. Attack you, said Hinata. Yes, I just need to confirm something. Don't worry about hitting me or what I'll think, just do your best and everything will be fine, said Naruto, with Hinata shakingly nodding. Okay, first close your eyes, take a deep breath, and relax your body, said Naruto. Hinata did as he said and closed her eyes, took a few deep breaths, relaxed her body. It took a couple of minutes, but soon she stopped shaking in nervousness, and she felt calm with her mind clear. Good, Hinata, now drown out everything but the sound of my voice, said Naruto. Hinata's world seemed to become still as she did as he said. In her mind she was standing in a black void with nothing but Naruto's voice being heard. You're doing good, Hinata. Now I want you to feel the world around you, the feel of the wind blowing against your skin and the feel of the ground beneath your feet, said Naruto. Doing as he said, Hinata's dark world soon gained a white outline of everything around her. She could even see an outline of Naruto and Hanabi. Now take a stance, don't think about it, just take a stance that feels comfortable, said Naruto. Hanabi watched as her older sister didn't respond verbally but did move into a stance that looked similar to the gentle fist, but much more loose. She wasn't a fool, she had noticed long ago that the rigid form of the gentle fist wasn't for Hinata, as she needed something much more fluid. She guessed that even Hinata's body realized this. You're doing very well, Hinata. Now I need you to forget everything about using the traditional gentle fist style. Allow your body to guide you and show how it wants to fight. Don't fight against the current but let it flow and carry you to victory, said Naruto. He watched her for a minute before he sensed that she was finally in the right state of mind that he needed her to be in, as he could sense ki slightly build around her body. Great, now keep your eyes closed and attack me, said Naruto. Hanabi watched as her sister shot at Naruto faster than she had ever seen Hinata move before, while throwing multiple palm thrusts at Naruto, all of which Naruto dodged. She noticed that all of Hinata's attacks flowed flawlessly together. Hanabi became shocked, however, when she saw Hinata start to throw in some kicks as well. This was shocking because the gentle fist had no kicks in it, as it completely focused on using the hands. Hanabi also noticed Hinata's footwork. Unlike the traditional gentle fist, which required that you stay somewhat stationary, Hinata's feet kept on moving and never stayed in the same spot for long. All in all, it looked like Hinata was dancing rather than fighting. Yes, Hinata, yes, you're doing wonderfully. Faster, attack me with everything you've got, said Naruto with excitement clear in his voice. Hinata didn't reply, but she did start to move even faster and attack more fiercely. Naruto's excitement grew as he saw an aura of dark purple ki form around Hinata's body. That's it, Hinata, you're tapping into that power of yours. Don't think, just let it flow and empower you, let it explode, said Naruto. Hinata jumped back from Naruto, and with a scream allowed her power to explode from her body. Hi-ya-ya-ya-ya! Screamed Hinata as a large pillar of dark purple ki shot into the air like a beacon. Hanabi's eyes were as wide as dinner plates as she felt the pressure of the power her sister was unleashing pushing down on her and causing her to sweat lightly. This isn't chakra, it's much too dense and heavy, plus chakra isn't supposed to be visible to the naked eye unless a jutsu requires it. Is this the power he said he saw in her, in us? Hanabi asked herself in thought. Hinata then did something really surprising. She spun her arms in a counterclockwise motion before bringing her hands together and cupping them at her side as a dark purple ball of light formed in between her hands. Naruto was surprised by this, as her stance reminded him of when he and his father would use the Kamehameha. He quickly braced himself for whatever it was that she was about to fire at him. "Great Lion Roar!" yelled Hinata as she thrusted her hands forward and fired a dark purple beam of energy that took the form of a roaring lion head. Naruto blocked the attack with his hands before throwing the attack up into the air, where it safely dissipated. "Alright Hinata, that enough. Open your eyes and calm down," said Naruto. Doing as Naruto said, Hinata opened her eyes while taking deep breaths to calm herself. Once she did, she looked at her hands in shock, as she could still feel the power she had just unlocked flowing through her body, and she couldn't believe that power was inside of her all this time. "Well done Hinata, well done. I must say that while I expected much from you, what you showed me was well beyond my expectations, and I'm greatly impressed," said Naruto with a smirk. His praise caused Hinata to blush heavily, but she also smiled and stood a bit straighter. "It's my turn next, right?" asked Hanabi while still being in awe of what she had just seen. "Yes, do the same thing that Hinata did and then attack me, but make sure you don't use chakra," said Naruto. It didn't take nearly as long for Hanabi to get ready as it did Hinata, and she quickly moved to attack him. Just like with Hinata, he dodged all of her attacks while studying her. He quickly noticed that the traditional gentle fist worked a lot better for her than it did for Hinata. Soon Naruto dodged a palm thrust to his head, but noticed that out of Hanabi's palm came a yellow ki blast. Hanabi's eyes quickly snapped open at this, as she felt the power within her. "I did it, didn't I?" asked Hanabi as she looked at the hand she had fired the ki blast from. "Yes, you did, and I'm not surprised with how quickly you did it. Still, you two are very impressive. It seems that you and Hinata are opposites, with Hinata having more raw power while you have more precision," said Naruto. "What is this power that you've unlocked inside of us, because I know it's not chakra?" asked Hanabi. "This power is called ki. Think of it as the solely physical side of chakra, though it is still a different energy. I'll explain more about it later, as it is almost time for Iruka to return," said Naruto. Hanabi and Hinata nodded at this before following him back to the classroom. When they got back to the classroom, they noticed that everyone was staring at them. "What's the matter?" asked Hanabi. "What do you mean, what's the matter? Didn't you guys feel that pressure from before?" asked a young woman. Said young woman was very beautiful, with fair skin, light blue eyes, platinum blonde hair done in a high ponytail with a single bang covering the right side of her face, a voluptuous body, long legs, thick thighs, wide hips, a narrow waist, a plump ass, a flat-toned stomach, and D-cup breasts. For clothes, she wore a sleeveless high-collared purple blouse that hugged her breasts tightly and exposed her midriff, a matching purple apron skirt that came down to a few inches above her knees, mesh armor on her elbows and knees, small gold hoop earrings, and purple sandals. "This young woman is Ino Yamanaka." "Oh, that was us just doing a little bit of training before Iruka-sensei comes back," said Hanabi. "Training? What kind of training could cause that pressure? What even was that pressure?" asked Menma. "That is not your concern until you prove yourself to Mother," said Naruto as he, Hanabi, and Hinata walked past him and took their seats. Menma scowled at this, but before he could say anything, Iruka came back into the classroom. "Alright everyone, I have your assigned teams. Please remember that these were made by Hokage-sama, so no complaining if you don't like your team. Now then, Team 1 is... Team 7 will Sasuke Uchiha, Menma Namikaze, and Sakura Haruna, with your sensei being Kakashi Hatake. Team 8 will be Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyugie, and Shino Aburami, with your sensei being Kurina Yuhi. Team 9 is still in circulation from last year, so Team 10 will be Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Choji Akimichi, with your sensei being Asuma Sarutobi. And finally, Team 11 will be Naruto Black, Hanabi Hyugie, and Yakumo Kurama, with your sensei being Anko Mitarashi," said Iruka before pausing for a few moments to let the information sink in. "Now your Jonin senseis should be here in a few minutes to pick you up, so use this time to get to know your new teammates," said Iruka. Naruto and Hanabi didn't move from their seats since they were already next to each other. They both then noticed a young woman walking towards them. She was rather cute, with fair skin, light brown eyes, long brown hair that was straight on one side while being braided on the other, a slender build, wide hips, and cup breasts. For clothes she wore a pink kimono held closed by a pink sash, violet baggy pants, red mesh armor under her kimono and legs, and orange sandals. This is Yakumo Kurama, Naruto's and Hanabi's third teammate. Hello, I'm Yakumo Kurama and I guess we'll be teammates from now on, said Yakumo. It's nice to meet you, Yakumo-san. I'm Naruto Black and I'm looking forward to working with you, said Naruto. He could feel a darkness inside of her, but it wasn't too bad. But two things that concerned him was that her darkness seemed to be centered around something, and the second thing was that her physical energy seemed to be restricted for some reason. And I'm Hanabi Hyugie. I also look forward to working with you, said Hanabi. It was then that Menma walked over and stood before them. He glanced at Naruto and Yakumo, but he mainly focused on Hanabi. Hey Hanabi, it sucks that we weren't put on the same team so that we could hang out, said Menma. Yeah, that is a real shame, said Hanabi in a voice that showed everyone but Menma that she really didn't care to be on his team. Well, maybe since you're on a team with my brother we'll still be able to hang out, said Menma. It was no secret to anyone in the class that Menma had a thing for Hanabi due to how strong she was and her natural beauty. On the other hand, while Hanabi would admit that Menma was handsome, but his attitude really turned her off. He was arrogant, self-centered, and could be quite annoying. What really bothered her about him though was that he once said that since Hinata was so shy and obviously weak, their clan should go ahead and make her the clan heiress and put Hinata in the branch family. It was only due to years of training that she didn't lose her temper and attack him right then and there. Maybe it all depends on what type of training schedule our sensei has, said Hanabi. Well, in that case, what do you say we go on a date tonight? Asked Menma. No thanks, I have other plans, lied Hanabi. She just refused to ever go on a date with him. Naruto saw that Hanabi was doing all she could to get out of doing anything with Menma, so he decided to help out, but he didn't like how he would have to do it. Menma, you yourself don't have time for such a thing tonight as you need to spend time with mother, said Naruto. Oh right, I had completely forgot about that, said Menma. At this the glass window broke and a smoke bomb went off in front of the class, getting everyone's attention. When the smoke cleared, there was a woman standing there with fair skin, pupilless brown eyes, purple hair done in a spiky fanned-out ponytail, a slender build, toned legs, wide hips, a juicy ass, a narrow waist, and D-cup breasts. For clothes she wore blue sandals, gray shin guards, an orange mini-skirt, a mesh armor shirt that did nothing to hide her body, a long tan trench coat, a rope necklace with a snake fang pendant, a wrist watch on her left wrist, and her Konoha headband on her forehead. Behind her was a banner that said the sexy and single Anko Mitarashi-sama is here. Alright brats, in case any of you can't read, I'm the sexy and single Anko Mitarashi-sama, and I'm here for Team 11. Don't bother raising your hands to show me who you are, just meet me on the roof in 5 minutes, or you'll be sorry, said Anko before jumping out the window again. Naruto, Hanabi, and Yakumo quickly made their way to the roof, where they found Anko leaning against the railing. Alright, you three take a seat so we can get introductions out of the way. I'll go first. My name is Anko Mitarashi. My likes are dango, sake, snakes, and my friends. My dislikes are traitors, those who take my dango, and my old sensei. My hobbies include torturing people at TNI, training, and hanging out with my friends. My dream for the future is to see you all become strong Jonin, and to kill my old sensei. Now you're up, Hyuga, said Anko. My name is Hanabi Hyuga. I like my sister, Honey Buns, and my friends. I dislike the caged bird seal, anyone that picks on or talks down to my sister, the elders of my clan, and those that make fun of my eyes. My hobbies include training, hanging out with my sister, and hanging out with my friends. My dream for the future is to be a strong kunoichi and to destroy the caged bird seal, said Hanabi. Alright, good, you're next, Kurama, said Anko. My name is Yakumo Kurama. My likes are painting, drawing, and genjutsu. My dislikes are Kurina Yuhi, being locked away, my dark side that was created by my bloodline, and my weak body. My hobbies include painting and drawing. My dream for the future to prove everyone wrong about me and become a great kunoichi, said Yakumo. Great, and now it's before Anko could tell Naruto to start, he was suddenly tackled by a flying pink blur. Looking at Naruto, they saw him being hugged tightly by Konoha. They all wondered just who she was. Konoha-chan? What are you doing here? Asked Naruto after sitting up. I came to bring you lunch, honey. I know just how much you love my cooking, said Konoha with a large smile, while holding up a packed lunch. Oh, thank you, dear. I'm sure this lunch you have made for me will be great, said Naruto with a strained smile. Yes, you're so lucky to have such caring wife like me. Oh, and don't think that your parents, Tawa, and I didn't feel those power surges earlier. Are you teaching people already? Asked Konoha. Yeah, but they had a lot of potential, and it's hard finding someone good to fight outside of our family, said Naruto. I swear you, Kushina, and Black are just all about training and fighting. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do with all of you, said Konoha. Naruto, what the hell is going on? Asked Anko. Oh right, sorry about that. This is my wife Konoha-chan, and before you say anything, she is a grown woman. Konoha-chan, this is my team, Anko-sensei, Hanabi, and Yakumo, said Naruto. Hello, it's nice to meet you. I'm actually Naruto-kun's second wife, said Konoha. You're married? Asked Anko. You have 2 wives? Asked Hanabi and Yakumo at the same time. CRA, said Naruto, simply getting the 3 of them to nod their heads in understanding. Well, honey, I'll see you at home when you're done with this. Have fun, said Konoha before giving him a quick kiss on the lips, then flying off. Anko, Hanabi, and Yakumo stared in shock as they watched Konoha fly away before they all turned to stare at Naruto. Well, my name is Naruto Black. My likes are training, my family, ramen, and fighting strong opponents. My dislikes are those who waste my time, bastards that only want to cause war and pain, and anyone that disrespects my family. My hobbies include training, fighting strong opponents, and spending time with my family. My goal for the future is to have a large family and bring peace to this world, said Naruto. Okay. Anyways, this is the part where I tell you that you're not really genin yet, and that the real genin test will be tomorrow. But unlike the other Jonin, I'm not that patient, so I'll be giving your test today. Follow me to training ground 11 so we can get this over with, said Anko before jumping off with Hanabi following her. Naruto remembered what Yakumo said about having a weak body, so he picked her up bridal style and flew after Hanabi and Anko. Yakumo yelped in surprise when Naruto picked her up and started to fly. She also had a huge blush on her face. She was a little scared of falling, so she held onto him tightly. You can fly too? Asked Yakumo. Yes, everyone in my family can fly, as it actually isn't that hard to learn, said Naruto. It didn't take long for them to reach training ground 11, where Naruto landed and sat Yakumo down on her feet. Alright, brats, for your test you have to detain me and interrogate me for the information of what my favorite training ground is. You will have 2 hours to do this, or else you fail and will be sent back to the academy, said Anko, getting a nod from her 3 would-be students. I'm glad you understand, because your test begins now, said Anko before taking off. Naruto smirked as he noticed that none of them had taken off after her, meaning that his teammates were smart. So how do you ladies want to do this? Asked Naruto. Hanabi and Yakumo looked at him with a smirk before the 3 of them huddled up together. An hour later, Anko was getting really irritated. She had been constantly running through the training grounds so that the 3 would-be genin wouldn't be able to easily catch her, but they haven't even tried to come after her yet. She then sensed something coming her way and quickly dodged to the side as a black and red ball of light exploded against the tree she was on. When she landed on the ground, she was immediately rushed by Naruto, and the 2 became involved in a fierce taijutsu exchange. Naruto was impressed that Anko was keeping up with him at this speed, as while it wasn't anywhere near as fast as he could go, none of the bandits he fought outside of the village were able to keep up. Anko, on the other hand, was a bit nervous, as she wasn't expecting a genin to be this fast, and the power she could feel behind each blow he threw. She was then rocked by a hard kick to the stomach that caused her to slide back while resisting the urge to hold her stomach. Anko didn't get any time to rest, as she had to quickly start dodging a barrage of attacks from Hanabi. This lasted for a minute before Hanabi ducked as another ball of black and red light flew over her head and struck Anko in the chest and exploded, causing Anko to roll across the ground until she stopped and seemed to be wrapped in thick silver chains. We have you, Anko-sensei, you can't escape, said Yakumo, walking out of the woods nearby while showing that she had a painting of Anko wrapped in chains. So that was their idea. Clever. They purposely let me run around in order to tire myself out some, then Naruto and Hanabi would attack in order to keep my mind off of Yakumo, and finally Yakumo would use her genjutsu skills to paint a picture of me trapped. Anko thought to herself. Alright you three, you got me, but you still have get the information out of me, said Anko with a cheeky grin. Oh, that won't be too hard because you're going to tell us what your favorite training ground is, or I'm going to feed you my wife's cooking, said Naruto as he unsealed the food Konoha made for him. Everyone looked at him strangely for that threat, wondering just what the hell was going on in his head. You know you may be able to fight, but you suck at interrogating people, said Anko with a deadpan. Very well, you were warned, said Naruto before shoving a spoonful of his wife's cooking into her mouth. Seconds later, Anko was very pale, sweating heavily, and thrashing around on the ground while howling in pain. Oh Kami-sama, I can feel it burning my insides. Get it out, somebody cut this unholy devil food out of me, screamed Anko. Hanabi and Yakumo were watching with wide eyes full of fear at what just one spoonful of Konoha's cooking had reduced Anko to. They then looked to the still full dish of food in Naruto's hands and wondered just what the hell was it made of. Naruto then got another spoonful of Konoha's cooking and brought it close to Anko's mouth like he was going to feed her more. Get that evil poisonous abomination of a food substance away from me. You are a sick and twisted sadist if you think I'm eating that again, yelled Anko. Well, Anko-sensei, if you really don't want to try any more of my wife's delicious cooking, then I suggest you pass us and tell us which training ground is your favorite, said Naruto with narrowed eyes. You pass, you pay this, and my favorite is training ground 44, cried Anko with anime tears rolling down her face like waterfalls. Naruto nodded at this before putting the food down and pulling out a small pink pill. Tawa had made this pill in order to cure the effects of Konoha's cooking. It sort of worked, as it didn't really cure you, but it did help with the pain and kept you from dying. He really didn't need them anymore, as he had gotten used to eating Konoha's cooking, but he kept a couple of bottles sealed on hand just in case. Naruto popped the pill into Anko's mouth and forced her to swallow it. The effects happened quickly as she stopped thrashing around and regained some of her color. Oh, thank Kami, while the pain is still there, it is at least bearable now, said Anko in a strained voice. Yeah, it's terrible for those who aren't used to it, so you won't feel good for about a week, said Naruto before eating the food himself. Everyone noticed how his body shook and spasmed a bit as he ate, showing that he didn't like the food either. How can you eat that? Asked Anko. I love my wife, and she is way too adorable for me to want to hurt her feelings by telling her that her cooking could be considered a weapon of mass destruction. Plus, I see eating this stuff as training. If you don't die from eating this, then there is no poison that will kill you, said Naruto. I can believe that, but anyway, you're all dismissed. I'm going to just lay here for a little while, said Anko. She was glad she decided to do the test early because now she didn't have to worry about reporting to the Hokage. Uzumaki compound. Naruto walked into his home and couldn't help but smile at the sight of Konoha chasing his laughing and flying son. Mirakun, get back here, don't fly away from Mama, said Konoha as she chased him. Hee, laughed Mira as he floated just out of her reach. Naruto knew full well that she was just playing with Mira, as she could catch him at any time. Hey everyone, I'm home, said Naruto while taking off his boots. Welcome home, honey. Oh, your parents are in the living room. They said they needed to talk to you about something. Hey, get back here, young man, said Konoha before going back to playing with Mira. Shaking his head at this, Naruto walked into the living room and found his mother and father sitting on the couch waiting for him. Father, I hear from Konoha-chan that you wanted to speak with me, said Naruto as he took a seat across from them. Yes, we wanted to inform you that we were attacked today by some ninja trying to enter our home, said Black. Who was it? I'll wipe them off the face of this world, said Naruto with clenched fists and narrowed eyes. There is no need to worry, Naruto-kun. We already took care of them, and now Tawa-chan is playing with them, said Kushina. Naruto knew that meant Tawa was experimenting on their bodies. Do we at least know who they were? Asked Naruto. They were some of Danzo's root Anbu. I figured he would come after us at some point, but I didn't think it would be so soon. That old warhawk has always wanted the Uzumaki secrets, and when it was known that you were a Jinchuriki, he wanted you to undergo his training to be the village's perfect weapon. He wasn't too happy when we took you out of the village. For the first 3 years of your life we had to constantly kill Root and Bu that came to kill us and take you," said Kushina. So I have yet another unworthy mortal to destroy," said Naruto. "Another? You mean you've found one already?" asked Black. "Yes, the academy teacher by the name Mizuki tried as hard as he could to fail me during the genin exam, and I could sense nothing but darkness in his heart. I'll be dealing with him shortly," said Naruto. "Speaking of the academy, tell us how your day was. We felt the surges of ki from that direction," said Black. With that, Naruto explained his time at the academy, and how he had started training Hinata and Hanabi. Kushina wasn't surprised that members of the Uchiha clan would be natural ki users. When he mentioned that Menma would most likely be coming by soon, Kushina went to prepare some tea, Black went to the basement to train, and Naruto went to spend some time with his wives and child before going out to find Mizuki. Later that night, Naruto was enjoying the night air when he noticed some alarmed Jonin running across the rooftops, following them without them noticing. He overheard them talking about how Mizuki had somehow managed to steal the forbidden scroll of seals and was fleeing the village. Naruto smirked as this was his chance to take out Mizuki without repercussions. Locking on to Mizuki energy, Naruto used instant transmission to appear in the air above Mizuki. Looking down, Naruto came upon a curious sight of Mizuki being surrounded by Anbu, but they had blank masks with the kanji for root on their foreheads. "These must be the root Anbu I've heard so much about. I guess it couldn't hurt to see what they're doing before taking them out," Naruto thought to himself. "Chunin Mizuki, you have stolen the forbidden scroll of seals and have shown yourself as a traitor to Konoha. You will hand over the scroll and report back to Konoha to be judged for your crimes," said the emotionless captain of the group of Root. "So that old fossil Danzo sent his mindless lapdogs after me. Well, regardless, I can't hand over this scroll. If I do, I'll be killed or your master will have me turned into one of you. Plus, I doubt Orochimaru-sama would like it very much if I failed to get this scroll to him," said Mizuki. Well, why am I not surprised that one traitor is working for the least biggest traitor? Oh well, this just gives me more reason to kill you," said Naruto out loud. Everyone looked to where they heard his voice and were shocked to see him floating in the air with his arms crossed. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki, "You will come with us in to be the Root captain," never got to finish as he suddenly had a large hole in his chest from Naruto's black and red ki blast. The Root captain then fell over dead with Naruto standing there with his right hand outstretched. "Foolish mortal, I have no desire to be an emotionless slave to your pathetic master," said Naruto as he floated down to the ground. No one really knew what to do as they hadn't even seen or sensed Naruto prepare whatever jutsu he just used. Just then one of the Anbu tried to attack Naruto from behind on to be kicked so hard in the side of the head that his head did a full 360 before he fell over dead. Hee. "Foolish mortals, didn't anyone ever teach you that you don't fuck with a god?" said Naruto before he disappeared in a burst of speed and appeared behind the Anbu. They all just stood there for a moment before they all fell over dead from having their internal organs destroyed from Naruto's fast and powerful blows. Mizuki stood there shaking in fear as he had not expected the demon brat to be this strong. He had assumed that the hint Naruto landed on him in the genin exam was just a stroke of luck, but that doesn't seem to be the case now. Naruto turned to Mizuki with a cruel smirk on his face and started to walk towards him. Mizuki responded to this by pulling one of the Fuma shuriken off his back and throwing it at Naruto, but Naruto easily knocked it away. Mizuki took out his second shuriken, but before he could throw it, the shuriken was destroyed by a ki blast from Naruto. You really are a demon," said Mizuki as he took a step back in fear. "Fool, weren't you listening? I'm not a demon, I'm a god," said Naruto as he quickly appeared in front of Mizuki with a hand on his chest and fire a point-blank ki blast. Mizuki didn't even get to scream before he died. A few moments later, Naruto found himself surrounded by the Hokage and his Anbu guard. "Genin Naruto Black, what are you doing here?" asked Minato with narrowed eyes, hoping that he would have a reason to lock Naruto up or better yet execute him. "I was simply out enjoying the night air when I overhear some Jonin talking how Mizuki-sensei had stolen the forbidden scroll of seals, so I decided that as a ninja of the village it's my job to stop him if I could," I found him here surrounded by these other ANBU, and they were talking about a man named Orochimaru and another man named Danzo. I know for a fact that Orochimaru is a traitor, so I deemed them all to be traitors and dealt with them while retrieving the scroll. Here you go, by the way," said Naruto before tossing the scroll to Minato. Catching the scroll, Minato quickly gave it to ANBU Cat without taking his eyes off of Naruto, who simply stood there with his arms crossed. He then glanced to the bodies of the dead Chunin and ANBU. Minato knew the ANBU belonged to Danzo, and if he worked fast enough he could get the bodies to Inochi so that he could search their minds for any evidence of Danzo's crimes so he could finally get rid of the Warhawk. But he decided not to do this. He knew that now that Naruto was back in the village, Danzo would try even harder to get him under his control, and if he couldn't, then he would just kill Naruto. As far as Minato was concerned, Danzo was actually being helpful for once. "This is quite the number of high-level opponents, Naruto. I'm surprised you managed to take them all down by yourself," said Minato. "Please don't be surprised, Hokage-sama. I've trained non-stop with my mother and father for years to handle any threat that came at me or my family. These guys were child's play when compared to my parents," said Naruto. "I see. I also noticed that you seem fine with taking a life," said Minato. "My parents had me blooded a long time ago. Couldn't have me freezing up on a mission after all," said Naruto. "I understand. Well, you can go home now as my ANBU and I will handle things from here," said Minato. Naruto simply nodded at this before he floated into the air and flew home, shocking the hell out of Minato. He came to an answer of how Naruto did that. Manipulating wind chakra like that is not an easy thing to do because, as far as I know, only the Tsuchikage is able to do it. Kushina-chan clearly trained him well, thought Minato while not giving Black any credit. Hey, he came to an answer. No one said it was the right answer. 6 months later, Naruto was currently walking through the village while ignoring the glares he was getting and thinking about everything that has happened over the last 6 months. Starting with his team, they've all become close to the point that he introduced them to his family. Hanabi and Yakumo were a bit jealous of Tawa's beauty and body, but his whole team found Mira adorable. Anko was just as interesting as he thought she would be, as she refused to do D-rank missions, so all they did was train and do C-rank or higher missions. He also found out that she wasn't liked very much in the village because of her old sensei and because of the curse mark on her neck. Not liking that his sensei was being treated like this for something that wasn't her fault, Naruto convinced her to let him attempt to get rid of the curse mark. After examining it for a while, he found that the reason it was so hard to destroy was because there was a piece of Orochimaru's soul anchoring it to her. With his mom's help, he created a seal to extract and contain the piece of Orochimaru's soul, and with it gone, the seal collapsed and destroyed itself. With the seal gone, Anko became much more affectionate with him. They were now dating and he was teaching her to use ki. He gave the seal containing the piece of Orochimaru's soul to Tawa to experiment on. She was very excited about it. When it came to Yakumo, Naruto had really gotten to know her over their time together as a team, and he had also been able to help her. First, he helped her destroy her Edo demon, so now she had even more control over her bloodline, while also getting rid of some of the darkness within her. Doing this also broke the restriction on Yakumo's physical energy. It turned out that her Edo demon had created the restriction in order to further increase the power of her bloodline with spiritual energy, or yin chakra. Now that all of the physical energy that was blocked for years was flowing into her body, it actually made her body 5x stronger than a normal ninja's body. He also helped her with her issues involving Kurinai Yuhi. While Yakumo hasn't forgiven the woman for abandoning her, she at least wouldn't attack the woman on sight, which was a good thing since Yakumo also started to learn how to use ki. Hanabi and Hinata have continued to improve in their ki training, and when they work together against him, he would actually have to try. He and Hanabi have also helped boost Hinata's confidence, and they saw that every day Hinata was standing a little straighter, stuttering a little less, and just all around being stronger as a person. She still had her moments of shyness, but they weren't constant anymore. Something that was a big surprise to Naruto, though, was that his father started dating another woman. Mikoto Uchiha was apparently his mother's best friend growing up, and they could be considered sisters in all but blood. Mikoto had gotten married to a man named Fugaku, but Kushina had never approved of him. Turns out his mother was right, as the man had planned a coup against Minato with some of the Uchiha clan. This failed, however, when Itachi Uchiha, Mikoto's oldest son, killed Fugaku and the Uchiha that were part of the coup, but since the coup was being kept a secret, everyone just thought Itachi was just another missing nin. Mikoto had been very lonely since Itachi left the village simply because he was the only one that ever really spent time with her. Fugaku only really spent time with her when he wanted her to do something, or he wanted sex, and her youngest child Sasuke was always trying to get his father's attention that he seemed to ignore her at times. Now though her husband was dead, Itachi was gone, and Sasuke was so focused on avenging his father's death that he barely even talked to her. When Kushina came back they reconnected and the loneliness began to disappear. The problem though is that Black and Kushina were rarely ever apart from each other, so as she was spending time with Kushina she was also spending time with Black. This allowed her to get to know him better and to eventually develop feelings for him. She later talked to Kushina about it, and after a long conversation Kushina had agreed to share Black with Mikoto. Black and Mikoto dated in secret for a while in order for Black to see if they clicked, which they did, and when they decided to be serious they told Naruto of their relationship. Naruto was fine with it as Mikoto was very kind and treated him like her own son. It still surprised him that she was Sasuke's mother. Sasuke was not happy to learn that his mother was seeing another man. Some unsurprising things that happened was that Menma had failed to be recognized as Kushina's son. According to his mother, when she sat down to talk with Menma, the brat wouldn't stop talking about himself. He just kept talking about how great he was, how fast he was getting through all of his training, how he had big plans for when he became clan head, how he was pretty much guaranteed to be Hokage, how he couldn't wait to rebuild his clans, and so on. Kushina didn't get a chance to tell him about herself as Menma was way too busy talking about himself. It didn't help that since they were in the Uzumaki compound Menma kept eyeing Tawa whenever he saw her. Naruto came out of his thoughts when he finally reached his destination, the academy. Standing out front waiting for him were his teammates. Yesterday their sensei had informed them that she had signed them up for the Chunin exams and told them to be at the academy in order to take them. "You ladies ready for this?" asked Naruto. "We sure are, Naruto-kun," said Hanabi. "Let's do this," said Yakumo. Nodding at this, the three of them walked into the academy, and then made their way upstairs. They paused when they saw a bunch of genin gathered around a door trying to get in while young men kept them out. When the three looked up and saw the room number above the door, and they couldn't help but deadpan, these idiots didn't realize that they had only gone up one flight of stairs. Naruto was seriously wondering how these genin were alive if something so simply fooled them like this. "Okay, so we have a room number switched up with a gain jutsu, and what I suspect are two Chunin in disguise guarding the door, and telling the genin trying to take the exams to leave due to them being so hard. Please tell me we're going to leave these idiots to their stupidity and move on," said Yakumo. "Of course, if they can't see through a simple gain jutsu like this, then they clearly aren't ready for these exams. I honestly question how they are all still alive if something so simple fooled them," said Naruto. "I'm guessing that the villages that sent them were just trying to intimidate others with the sheer numbers they were sending rather than actually sending a large number of good teams," said Hanabi. With that the three continued on until they were outside of the real examination room where they found Anko standing outside of the door. "Hey there you three, glad you all decided to come. I'm sure you all already figured that if all of you didn't come then none of you could take the exam, so I won't bore you with some speech about teamwork since you guys work great together. Now good luck and go kick ass," said Anko. She then gave Naruto a deep kiss before leaving in a swirl of leaves. Hanabi and Yakumo were a bit jealous at this as over time they too had developed feelings for Naruto, but haven't told him yet. Yakumo because she wanted to prove to him that she was strong, while Hanabi wanted to wait until Hinata got up the nerve to ask Naruto out, since she too had fallen for the young scion. When they walked into the room they were immediately hit by killing intent from those that were already in the room. Naruto and the girls didn't even flinch as Anko has exposed them to much worse, not to mention Naruto has had to deal with the killing intent from both his mom and dad during training, and then there was when Tawa was pregnant and going through mood swings. "This is just pathetic. Naruto-kun, do you mind showing them what real killing intent feels like?" asked Hanabi. "Not at all, it'll teach them a lesson in who not to direct their intent at," said Naruto before he narrowed his eyes and released a small fraction of his killing intent. The results of this was almost everyone looking away from him in fear, 4 teams passing out, and 3 teams leaving the testing room. Naruto smirked at this before took a spot against the wall. Here Naruto observed that there was just about a team from every major village except Kiri since they were still in their civil war. Father has been rather anxious lately. Maybe I could convince him to join the rebels and help end the civil war. Naruto thought to himself. A few minutes later Naruto saw Menma and his team come into the room, both he and Sasuke looking a little roughed up, and then Menma shouted something about beating everyone in the room. Naruto scoffed at this as Menma was nowhere near his level. Though Naruto did notice the looks Menma was getting from the IWA teams, it seemed that they still had a great dislike for Minato, and that very dislike seems to have spread to Menma. He stopped paying attention until some guy named Kabuto showed up and told he had information on everyone taking the exam. That really got Naruto's attention was when Kabuto said that he's taken the exam 7 times. Anyone who's taken the exam that many times and hasn't advanced in rank was suspicious. Using his enhanced senses from being a Jinchuriki and took in Kabuto's scent, he did not like what he smelled. Give me everything you have on Rock Lee of Konoha, Gaara of the Sand, and Naruto Black, said Sasuke. I want information on the blonde and red-headed girls on the Kumo team and the pink-eyed girl from IWA, said Menma. Wow, you guys are really hungry for information, but anyway, here is what I've got. Rock Lee is a genin of Konoha with his teammates being Niji Hyugie and Tenten with his sensei being Might Guy. He has no talent in ninjutsu or genjutsu but has an extremely high skill level in taijutsu. He's completed 112 D ranks and 20 C ranks, said Kabuto reading from his card on Lee. Everyone was confused on how Lee was only good at taijutsu but then quickly dismissed it while only a few people decided that Lee required keeping an eye on. Next we have Gaara of the Sand. He's a genin of Suna with his teammates being his older brother and sister, Kankuro and Temari, with their sensei being Baki. He's been on 30 D ranks, 29 C ranks, and Woa B rank. Some interesting information is that on every mission he's always come back without a scratch, said Kabuto. This information made almost everyone nervous as the fact that could go on a B rank mission and come out without a scratch was both impressive and frightening. Then we have Naruto Black. He a genin of Konoha with his teammates being Hanabi Hyugie and Yakumo Kurama with their sensei being Anko Mitarashi. He's completed 0 D ranks, 40 C ranks, and 3 A ranks that started off as C ranks. This got everyone to look at Naruto in shock at the fact that he was on 3 A rank missions, though Sasuke and Menma clenched their fists and scowled as they knew that one of those missions came from him and his team having to help Team 7 in Wave. Naruto paid them no mind as he continued to lean against the wall with his arms crossed and his eyes closed. Well, it appeared like he wasn't paying them any mind while he was actually paying close attention to what was going on around him. He seems to specialize in ninjutsu and taijutsu with him having a very high skill level in both. He also apparently has jutsu that don't require hand seals and even has a jutsu that lets him achieve flight, said Kabuto. Now everyone looked at Naruto with some caution as being able to use ninjutsu without hand seals was a very rare thing that only the most highly trained ninja could do. Though the IWA teams decided to really keep an eye on Naruto since as far as they knew only their Kage Kuratsuchi had managed to achieve flight, while Kuratsuchi could hover as of right now. Now the blonde from Kumo is named Samui, and her teammates are Karui and Omoi with their sensei being Killer Bee. She has completed 40 D ranks and 20 C ranks. Like most Kumo ninjas, she's good at lightning style and kenjutsu, but she is mostly known for her incredibly bust size and beauty, said Kabuto. At this everyone looked over to Samui, and almost every guy's jaw dropped. She was a very beautiful and tall young woman with fair skin, icy blue eyes, shoulder-length blonde haircut in an asymmetrical bob, a curvaceous figure, long legs, wide hips, a narrow waist, a tight ass, and large pricky E-cup breasts. For clothes she wore a gray low-cut top that showed off her sizable cleavage with a mesh shirt underneath, a black skirt that came down to her thighs, a modified Kumo flak jacket that only covered her stomach like a girdle, long kunoichi boots that stopped just under her knees, red arm guards, and a tanto sheath horizontally on her lower back. The guys were trying to keep from getting boners while the girls looked envious of her chest. The redhead from Kumo is named Karui and her teammates are Samui and Omoi with their sensei being Killer Bee. She has completed 40 D ranks and 20 C ranks. Like most Kumo ninjas, she's good at lightning style and kenjutsu, but she's also good at fire style. She is also well known for her short temper and fiery attitude," said Kabuto. Everyone looked to Karui and saw that she was also a beautiful woman with dark skin, long spiky dark red hair, amber eyes, a slender build, nicely toned legs, thick thighs, wide hips, a plump and juicy ass, a narrow waist, a flat stomach, and B-cup breasts. For clothes she wore a long short-sleeved dress with frilly edges complete with a Kumo flak jacket, 2 simple yellow earrings, fishnet stockings, thigh-high boots with white soles, a white Kumo headband worn like bandana, and on her back was a long sword. And finally we have the pink-eyed girl from IWA who is named Kuratsuchi, and she is the granddaughter of the current Tsuchikage. Her teammates are Suzumabachi and Akatsuchi, with their sensei being Kitsuchi, Kuratsuchi's father. She has completed 82 D ranks, 23 C ranks, and 2 B ranks. She apparently has great skill in taijutsu and ninjutsu. She's able to earth style, water style, fire style, and it's rumored that she can use lava style," said Kabuto. Now everyone looked at Kuratsuchi, who did not look happy at having her skill set revealed. She was a beautiful young woman with fair skin, short black hair, distinctly pink eyes which are accentuated by her eyelashes running upwards at the corners, a slender build, long legs, wide hips, a firm ass, narrow waist, a flat stomach, and cup breasts. For clothes she wore the traditional IWA Nin uniform consisting of a red uniform with her right sleeve missing and a lapel over her right leg, a brown IWA flak jacket, fishnet tights with a red skirt over them, black gloves, black shinobi sandals, and her IWA headband on her forehead. "Naruto-kun," whispered Hanabi. "I know, he has information that no genin should have, especially on genin who are taking the exams for the first time. Not to mention that he smells way too much like snakes and death," said Naruto. "So he's a spy, and for Konoha's greatest traitor. What do you want to do with him?" asked Yakumo. "Nothing for now. Acting at this moment will only cause a scene and us look incompetent at handling things quietly, so for now we wait," said Naruto. They then heard Kabuto talking about all the villages that sent teams to the exams. He was then attacked by the team from Oto when he insulted their village. They became interested when they saw the attack miss, but Kabuto still take damage. If I had to guess, I would say that he used sound waves to attack Kabuto. After all, you don't come from a place called the Hidden Sound Village without learning how to actually use sound as a weapon, Naruto thought to himself. Jonin Lounge. All the Jonin of the teams taking the exams were sitting in a special lounge in order to watch the first stage of the exams. Anko couldn't stop grinning as she saw Naruto intimidated everyone with just a fraction of his intent. She knew that if he used his full intent, there was the chance that everyone would have left rather than face him. It really turned her on when Naruto showed just how scary he could be. "That sure is one scary genin you have there, Anko," said Kakashi. Kakashi was a tall, lanky man with gravity-defying silver hair and dark eyes. For clothes he wore the standard Jonin attire with a mask that covered his neck and the lower half of his face, and he wore his headband slanted so that it covered his left eye. "Damn right, he and the girls are going to crush these exams," said Anko with a smirk. "Don't get too beepy, Anko. After all, I believe my team has a pretty good chance at going very far," said Kurinai. Kurinai is a very beautiful woman with fair skin, red eyes with a black ring in them, purple eyeshadow on her eyelids, long wavy black hair, a curvy build, nicely toned legs, wide hips, a narrow waist, a nicely toned ass, and D-cup breasts. For clothes she wore a white dress that appeared to be made of bandages with a black rose thorn-like designs on it, and one long red sleeve, bandages wrapped around her thighs and hands, her headband on her forehead, and black shinobi sandals. "I'm not beepy, I'm confident. My team is probably the strongest of the genin taking the exams. In fact, I'll tell all of you now, if your genin face Naruto-kun at any point during these exams, they should either flee or just give up because they won't win," said Anko with a large smirk. "What makes Naruto so special?" asked Asuma. Asuma was a tall man with tan skin, dark eyes, black hair with a matching beard, and a strong build. For clothes he wore the standard Konoha Jonin outfit. His questioned the attention of all the Jonin as they waited for the answer, especially the 4 Gain Jonin, as they'd like any information on what could be a future threat to their villages. Naruto is honestly just on a whole different level when compared to anyone else of genin rank, and when I think about it I understand why. He's not only trained by me but by Black and Kushina as well. My training is hard, but what those two do could be considered hell on earth. I honestly thought that they were trying to kill him, but Naruto seems to thrive under that kind of training," said Anko. Everyone let that information sink in before they went back to watching their genin. When Kabuto started giving out information, the senseis of the genin that the information was given on frown as some of their genin skill set was now known. They all also became interested in what the Oto genin did when they attacked Kabuto, but everything became tense when their examiner, Ibiki, showed up. With Naruto was sitting in his seat after Ibiki had explained how this phase of the exam worked. He had quickly picked up on the fact that you had to cheat in order to get the answers, but he also realized he technically didn't have to answer the questions, so he decided not to. Looking around, he saw that his teammates had also figured out the point of the test, since Hanabi was using her Byakugan to cheat and Yakumo had apparently created an illusion of her sleeping so she could walk around looking at the answers. Naruto couldn't see what Yakumo was doing, but he could sense her. Soon it was time for the final question, and Ibiki gave everyone the choice of answering the question or quitting now. If they chose to quit, then they'd just try again next time, but if they chose to continue and got the question wrong, they would fail and not be able to ever take the exams again. This caused a good number of teams to quit as they didn't want to be genin forever. Naruto couldn't help but shake his head at how stupid people could be. Did they really believe that Ibiki had the authority to tell Kagis that their genin could never take the Chunin exams again? If they did, then that was just sad. After people finally stopped quitting, Ibiki explained that they had passed the first phase of the exams. As he was explaining things, he was interrupted by something crashing through the window, and in a puff of purple smoke a banner that showed saying Anko Midarashi Future Black is here, taking everyone off guard. "Well, hello handsome, I'm glad to see you made it," said Anko. Everyone turned to her voice and saw that Anko was sitting on Naruto's lap with her arms wrapped around his neck. A lot of the guys that got to see just how sexy Anko was felt a bit jealous of Naruto. "You're early, Anko," said Ibiki. Yeah, whatever. "So Naruto-kun, what did you think of the first phase?" asked Anko while she traced circles on his chest and pressing her breasts against him. To be honest, it was too easy to figure out if you paid attention to what was said and used common sense. I'm amazed that so many genin actually believed that Ibiki-san had the authority to tell Kagis that their genin could never take the Chunin exams again, said Naruto. At those words, a lot of the genin that believed Ibiki looked embarrassed. "Well, maybe you'll like the second phase better. Alright brats, everyone head to training ground 44. Be there in 30 minutes or else you fail. Naruto-kun, carry me to our destination," said Anko. "Very well, Anko-chan," said Naruto before jumping out the window she had broken before, with Hanabi and Yakumo following. It took a minute before everyone else followed. Training ground 44. Alright brats, welcome to training ground 44, my home away from home, also known as the Forest of Death. For the next phase you'll be spending 5 days in this very, very deadly forest, said Anko. 5 days, yelled Ino. What are we gonna do about food? Yelled Choji. Shut up brats, there's more, yelled Anko. Now, as I was saying, before you go into the forest your teams will be given either an earth scroll or a heaven scroll. While in the forest you need to get the scroll you don't have from another team. If you haven't figured it out by now, then I'll spell it out for you. Killing is allowed. In fact, I need you to sign these waivers saying that Konoha isn't responsible for your death should you die, said Anko as a stack of waivers were passed around. Oh, and also you are not allowed to open the scrolls or you will be disqualified, said Anko. Ha, is that all? This phase will be a breeze, boasted Menma. Menma then quickly found his left cheek getting cut by a thrown kunai. He then felt an arm wrap around his neck as Anko licked his blood. It's always tough guys like you that die first, said Anko. She then felt someone coming behind her and quickly turned and threw a punch that stopped just shy of the person's face. Even though the punch didn't connect with the person, a kunoichi from grass, the force behind the punch still caused a strong gust of wind, surprising everyone but her team. You know you shouldn't try to sneak up on someone like me, you might just end up dead, said Anko. Sorry, I was just trying to return your kunai, said the kunoichi while having her abnormally long tongue wrapped around said kunai. It seems Anko-chan has gotten much stronger recently. The kunoichi thought to herself. Thank you, but like I said, you need to be careful with who you sneak up on, said Anko. Soon all the waivers were signed, every team had gotten a scroll, and were waiting at their assigned gate for the second phase to start. When the alarm signaling the start of the second phase, all the teams shot into the forest. So what's the plan, Naruto-kun? Asked Yakumo. Well, we have a heaven scroll, so we need to get an earth scroll, then we also need to deal with that traitor Kabuto, and I wouldn't mind thinning out the competition a bit more. With that in mind, we need to split up so that we can find the scroll we need, eliminate other teams, and get rid of Kabuto. Flare your key in our code when you find an earth scroll or if you find yourself facing an opponent that you feel you can't beat, said Naruto with a smirk. He knew damn well that most genin couldn't touch his team unless they had godly teamwork or were high Jonin in strength, since he and Anko had been training the girls into the ground. Alright, that's a solid plan, I'll see to later, said Hanabi before she charged up her ki and then flew off. See you around, Naruto-kun, said Yakumo as she charged up her ki and flew off in another direction. Naruto simply smirked before charging up his ki and flying straight ahead. I feel so bad for anyone that runs into either of them, Naruto thought to himself. Tawa's lab. Tawa had an evil smirk on her face as she continued to play with her latest toy. Currently in front of her was a basketball-sized purplish-pink orb with a white snake that had purple facial marking inside. The snake was actually the fragment of Orochimaru's soul that her beloved husband pulled out of Anko's curse mark. Currently it was thrashing in pain because of the special tools she was using to experiment on it. This was the first time Tawa had ever gotten the chance to experiment on a real human soul, if Orochimaru could even really be called human, and she was excited that she was learning so much. The first thing she learned was that despite no longer being a part of Orochimaru, it was still connected to him. Anything new that Orochimaru learned, said, did, or even thought was transferred to the soul fragment. It was almost like a reverse shadow clone. The second thing she learned was that the information the soul fragment held could be extracted and implanted into someone else. It took her a while to get the process right, but 4 dead root subjects later, and she could not transfer information without frying the person's brain if she wanted to. And yes, she did have some live root members in her lab, as not all of her experiments would work on a dead body. Also yes, she kept the bodies of the ones she killed with her experiments, that way she got use out of them in both life and death. You could think of it as recycling, a very, very grim version of recycling. The third thing she learned was that ki could affect the soul in a negative way if you focused it in a certain way. An example of this was how the soul fragment was thrashing in pain right now. Tawa was focusing on having her ki cause pain, not physical damage, but just pain, and it was working. The final thing she had learned so far was that with this soul fragment she could locate other soul fragments. She didn't have an exact location right now, but she knew that there was 5 other soul fragments out in the world as of right now. With everything she learned, there was also many questions that were running through her mind. Was the information transfer a two-way connection? Did Orochimaru know she had a piece of his soul? Did Orochimaru feel pain when she tortured his soul fragment? Did the other people that had a piece of his soul in them feel pain when she tortured the soul fragment? Could she control Orochimaru himself using this soul fragment? Could she create her own little Orochimaru slave using this soul fragment? What would happen if she had the other soul fragments? Could she learn how to remove souls on her own by studying this soul fragment, and the others as well? All of those questions and more ran through her mind as she continued to experiment and take notes on the soul fragment she had. Naruto has truly given me a wonderful gift in this soul fragment. The knowledge and research material this can provide me will do wonders for my other experiments. Oh Naruto, when I see you again I'm going to fuck your brains out, said Tawa to herself as she continued her work. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comment section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, bye bye.